What's up, RBY community? It's Pack here. We're back with another RBY UU analysis video for the ongoing RBYPL tournament. We have a returning character from the last video, ThatOneApple. At the time of this match, he is 2-2, going on a pretty decent run since the Jensen Dale matchup. MrBanana is recently added into the tournament after the Panthers had a tough time with their starter showing up to games and the substitute performing after getting thrust into it. But they have found MrBanana to stay consistently in the tier and is doing very well. So far at 2-0, beating AM and myself. So we are going to see how this goes. Most of the predicts are in Apple's favor. However, I do think MrBanana is a very strong opponent who has played UU in the past, and I think this is going to be a good match. We're going to see what we're starting out with. We have Apple's going to lead Electabuzz. Lead Haunter is interesting. Definitely worth talking about here because it has been picking up a little bit, or at least it feels like it in the last few weeks compared to the start of the tournament. It does have some poor matchups on paper, such as Lead Fires, Dodrio, even Nidoking's been popping up, which can be scary, which can all beat it out real hard damage-wise, and Hypnosis being so shaky means you can just choke and die. However, if you are able to get the sleep off early, and Electabuzz isn't a bad matchup for sure to get that off. You can get a lot of value very early, and the game can just steamroll in your favor. Electabuzz is a good one to see, so we're going to see how it goes. T-Wave is going to be correct, because now it is very hard to get Hypnosis going here. Especially since you only 3-hit KO with Psychic, not assuming drops or crits. So if you just try to slam Psychic, you're giving him pretty decent odds to sleep you. It's kind of a similar situation to if you play OU, you have like Jinx versus Zam. You're just going to T-Wave and hit the Jinx. This case, we are going to get our sleep. So now, if you play a lot of RBY, you obviously know the game here, right? Do you boom the incoming switch in? Do you switch out to punish? Do you stay in an attack? What's your game plan as the Haunter here? The greediest one is going to be boom, because if you hit the incoming thing, especially if you crit boom, free instant value. You're already very far ahead in the match. And as we're going to see, MrBanana is going to hit the boom. Now, it's going to stay into the buzz. Now, big issue with this is, yes, if you hit the incoming Mon, that's very big value, and he has back sleepers too, so if you do stay in and crit the explosion versus Electabuzz, you can get another sleep going. However, in this exact scenario where you boom and the buzz stays in and doesn't die, Apple now has a sleep blocker, but Banana doesn't have the Haunter anymore to block the sleep or catch the sleep. So because of that, when Apple gets his sleep going, he's going to get it off on a very important Mon for MrBanana. We're going to S-Toss mid-ground the incoming Hypno, get our Para off, and Apple's going to get a sleep off. Now what we are going to see here is this is a very important range for Hypno. This 74 right here after an S-Toss. Because if you get one more S-Toss, you're in Kangaskhan Hyper Beam range. But you're currently not. So it is very valuable to be in this range as a Hypno. We're going to see Apple try to punish the switch in with Thunder Wave. But MrBanana is going to stay in to punish that. And it's going to work out very well for him. Now he can get another S-Toss off. And now this is a dangerous scenario to be in. He's going to get the sleep off again. But this Hypno is now in danger. It can rest to bring it back up, and then you can bring something in to threaten it on the sleep turns, or you don't, and something can come in like a Kangaskhan and now start applying real pressure to the team here. We're going to stay in again, and we're going to see the Kangaskhan come in to punish it, probably predicting a rest turn here, because Banana's been doing nothing but threatening the stay-in. Apple is going to read that, though, with the Thunder Wave and get it to connect on the Kangaskhan, which is very valuable, because yes, the Hypno's going to die, but now your Kangaskhan is favored versus theirs. We're going to scout for counter, because typically the Kangaskhan set is going to be Body Slam, Hyper Beam, and then your last two slots are going to be between EQ and Blizzard, which that combo is the most common, because you cover Haunter and Dragonite, but Rock Slide and Counter both do exist, and Counter could swing this back in MrBanana's favor a lot, because even though you're slower, the counter damage would allow you to get back into play here. Because one countered slam into H-Beam should kill, I believe. We're going to scout for it. Full Para anyway. Not quite an H-Beam range. Gonna Blizz again, and MrBanana did indeed have counter, so the scout did pay off here. So we're going to get a free Kangaskhan. Apple has a Dragonite to answer the Moltres. And looks like Mr. Banana has a Slowbro. So this is pretty interesting. The Pampoos in this tour have been, the Pampoo primates, they've been using a lot of Slowbro this tour, which is interesting because a lot of people don't have the highest opinion of Slowbro right now. Its advantages are that it is very bulky and adds a big backbone to your team, can take some pressure off of your Hypno, and is a pretty relatively consistent answer to Kangaskhan due to its bulk, which is very rare and a valuable trait. And if you can, it can do amnesia sweeps or help break with it, though it can be hard to get that going. However, it is very slow, and that said amnesia can be very hard to get off. So if you're just switching into Kangaskhan and threatening T-Wave or a relatively weak Psychic, then it's not going to be the most value mon in a tier where you have absolute monsters that can just trade 1 for 2 consistently. But the Primates have been using a lot of Slowbro. Kind of annoying because when I faced them, they didn't use anything like this, but they are back to the standard teams they've been running all tour. So we are going to see that Slowbro come in. Lapras is going to come in to punish, outspeed T-Bolt. Makes sense. We are going to get the pair off on the Lapras. This is going to be nice for us because, assuming Mr. Banana's last is Lapras, now we have a paired Lapras and a Dragonite, so their Lapras is going to be very strong here. We have a Moltres to fight the Kangaskhan, so we're getting into a reasonable endgame for Mr. Banana with this pair going off. We are going to start setting up Amnesia. Obviously, this is going to reset the speed drop if you know anything about RBY. So now we outspeed and can threaten this Lapras. Just going to take some pressure off of our Lapras to make this endgame more secure. Looking rough for Apple's Lapras here. Persian's going to come in on the rest turn. Slowbro is going to fall to the Persian, but is going to get a pair off on the Persian. This is very huge for this first endgame. Moltres and presumably Lapras should be able to clean this up. Main threat is that Kangaskhan, especially if it has Rock Slide, will make this tough. Oh, I was about to say unfortunate Hyper Beam miss, but we did end up having Persian miss as well. But now that that's been revealed, we're able to pretty comfortably bring in the Dragonite. Yeah, gonna get that pair off. It's gonna make it harder. The Moltres does have agility. We are gonna bring in the Hypno just to tank. So yeah, I presume we're gonna sack the Hypno and then go Lapras. It's a Dragonite, so it's the Lapras team. Very unfortunate. That makes this endgame a lot less close than I had thought. Especially because of this blank Blizzard Kangaskhan. And we're gonna win the speed tie and clean up. So I think this is honestly a very good example of why Lapras is so mandatory in the tier. I think if that Dragonite was Lapras, that game could have gone either way, but it was not, so that game was pretty sealed by Apple many turns ago. I just was unaware until I had that detail. A strong first game from Apple. We're going to go into game 2. Mr. Banana is going to bring that aforementioned Nidoking, and is going to get the desired lead matchup that the Nidoking wants. Now, the issue with Dragonite v Nidoking is that both of them 2-hit KO each other with Blizzard, but Nidoking does outspeed. But it's also a tough matchup for Dragonite, because you can't simply say bring Lapras in on the Blizzard, because that can either be red and bring in a hard sleeper, which puts you on the back foot, or you could read that with an Earthquake, and Nidoking can very easily trade with Lapras if you go for Earthquakes. Because Lapras' options are the Blizzard 2-hit KO, or go for Sing. Sing is inconsistent and can miss, and you might just end up sleeping the Nidoking. Or Nidoking and Lapras stay and attack each other, and Nidoking can get like 3 Earthquakes off on the Lapras, and now you're down a Lapras for a Nidoking, and they still have their Hypno and Lapras. It's not a great trade. This is really what you're looking for, and it's hard to just stay in, because the Nidoking could just click Blizzard and just crit KO you, or just lose, you're going to lose that matchup. Now you can sack Nidoking to sleep later. So we're going to see the Lapras come in and get punished with that sleeper, as I mentioned. Now we're going to get 2 tries to sleep versus the Dragonite. We are unfortunately going to miss both Hypnosises. You know, great tier that RBYU is. So it's unfortunate that this Gambit doesn't work out. It is interesting. I've actually been using the Nidoking Haunter combo a lot this tour to great success for this exact setup. It's unfortunate that Mr. Banana does not get it. We're going to miss a third Hypnosis is unfortunate. We're going to go and just cut our losses, go Lapras. Now this one can be interesting because the Dragonite can, depending on how much you value your Dragonite, you could arguably stay in on the Lapras because even though you get OHKO'd by Blizzard, Sing is a common click here, so you can get 2 tries of the incoming Lapras or Hypno. So it is valid to click Sing, and you'd most likely rather have your Dragonite get sung than your Lapras or Hypno, especially with the revealed Mon so far. But Banana could just click Blizzard, and then you're hard punished and really behind. So we're going to see Apple is going to stay for damage, presuming that we are going to have the Sing. And worst case scenario, you do have decent chip on Lapras. I believe Hypno Psychic 2-hit KOs here. I'm not sure. I don't feel like calculating on that. I'm going to see, yes, okay, yeah, this 2-hit KO. And the Sing is going to land, though. Very unfortunate that those land. And Miss Brenna's going to get a uncontested rest off. Though Apple does get to burn some sleep bullets. Kangaskhan's going to come in to punish the sleep. Lapras is going to come in, which can be very scary for Lapras, just as we see here. You're either getting crit or parried. And from here, you can often just win the 1v1 outright here if you wanted to. So it is hard. You're not a very consistent answer. We do have the Haunter, though, which is going to get eaten by the Dugtrio. Haunter doesn't really have a good answer to an unrevealed Dugtrio, unless you really read it and say boom. You can Psychic even, but Psychic isn't going to do that much. So it's just very tough that Apple has the Dugtrio in the back to answer this. And Dugtrio is really hard mon to switch into. I'm going to guess the Kangaskhan comes in. Yeah, Kangaskhan is going to come in. Now, something that's been controversial lately is the existence of Sand Attack Dugtrio. While Earthquake is just the correct play overall, there have been certain players I won't name who will, and myself included, I won't try to act high and mighty, who have just been clicking Sand Attack here and just start fishing like crazy. We aren't going to see that happen. So Dugtrio is going to get the free damage in, bring out, go back to Lapras. You're not in HP range yet, so you can get a Blizzard off. Free Paris, though. And see, I do wonder about just going Dugtrio again, because I don't think you instantly go to Boom in the scenario. You're going to scout at least one time with Nightshade for damage on Dugtrio, but it is a 50-50, so I can see why. We are going to get Shade, though, off damage. That is going to put the Lapras in Kangaskhan range now. Dugtrio is going to come in now. We're not going to know what move this was because it's full parried. If that was a boom, though, this could have turned out pretty disastrous for Apple. Haunter is going to die, though. There's no point in switching in Kangaskhan again, because if that Dugtrio crits the Kangaskhan, things get very dicey. Haunter has done more than enough for the team so far. Kangaskhan's going to come in. We're going to see if Mr. Banana scouts for a counter. Does not go straight for damage. Now both Kangaskhan's are in Hyper Beam range. Mr. Banana's Lapras isn't going to be a good catch for a Hyper Beam because it's asleep. So we're going to see, and Nidoking wouldn't be either because despite it being full health, we're slower and don't have a strong enough option. So depending on what Mr. Banana has in the back, he might just have to go for the coin flip here. And Apple probably doesn't have a good switch in either, so we're probably going to have to play the coin flip. Banana is going to get the coin flip. Bring back in the Dugtrio. That's our best answer to the Kangaskhan, which is very scary for this exact reason. Is this a guaranteed kill? I honestly don't know if it is. That is a roll for sure. Wow, yeah, 17.9% chance off of a 89 point something accuracy. So yeah, that is a very rare OHKO to have happen. I guess if you include crits and the like. But gonna get very rewarded for that. Which I guess makes sense, because if you slam and you don't get the pair or the crit or whatnot, then Dugtrio has not eaten enough damage. So we are gonna roll for that. Articuno's gonna come in, and Mr. Banana has the Rock Slide to answer it, which is very tough for Apple here. But at the same time, we also had a full health Lapras with only one more turn of sleep left, so this is likely a closed out game from Banana anyway. Yeah, Hypno is going to come in. Now, 4 turns is decently long sleep-wise, and the Blizzards are going to miss, so the Hypno might be able to come back into play. But we're already very far behind. We have 2 unrevealed Mons and the Nidoking still alive. I would be very shocked if Apple can come back from this. You probably have to just go for sleep here. Yeah, but we're going to stack the Nidoking, and it's going to miss, too. So yeah, it's GG's. Apple has this one in the bag. Well played from Apple. Well played from Banana. Did get some good luck in there too. Yeah, we're gonna close that one out. So we're gonna move on to game 3. See what the lead matchup is. We are gonna have a Golem lead versus Clefable lead. Now this is a weird matchup you don't see a lot. Clefable is a very versatile lead. It can apply a lot of pressure to Hypno early on. It has access to Sing, so you can get an early Sing off. Has some slightly better matchups compared to, say, Haunter due to its increased bulk and moveset. And it is going to outspeed the Golem here. Golem is typically trying to catch electric leads, pretty obviously. It can also be a good bait lead to bring in a sleeper. This matchup in particular has a couple things to it. You could stay in as Golem if you want to sack it to sleep. You could, but I think as Clefable, Blizzard makes a lot of sense here, but if you Blizzard, you might see something like a Hypno come in, and it's just going to sleep you. So we're going to see what ends up getting clicked here. We're going to get Blizzard. Golem's going to stay in and go for an Earthquake. Now, Apple did not get a whole lot of reward off of that Earthquake. Might be trying to read a bait switch in. I'm not sure about the Earthquake, though. I mean, I guess it's not even relatively safe, because that Blizzard could have crit, and you get very punished. So we're going to see a lot of reward, and Hypno's forced to come in. It would have been, I think, I personally think Lead Clef should be running Sing, because of the amount of advantage you can get, and I think after getting that Blizzard off to predict the stay-in, a couple Sings here would be very strong. We're going to go Blizzard again, I guess presuming that you think Apple's going to Sleep Sack here. But 38% Golem is now very tough, because you're not going to be able to answer Electrics or even Dodrio all that well. Apple is going to miss the Hypnosis, but it's not going to be punished with Sing, at least quite yet. The Sing does go off. Despite not taking advantage of turn 2 Sing, we do end up getting it anyway. Now we can pressure with the Body Slams I was mentioning before. We're going to go ahead and fish for a stay-in. Going to get punished hard for trying to fish for the stay-in. Especially once you get into that range, you're obviously not going to sack the Hypno to sleep because you need a sleep blocker, so a switch is very, very telegraphed. So you can definitely punish this with, could have been a T-Wave. Body Slam makes sense, though. You just get more damage and could possibly pair the switch in anyway. And see, now we are really far behind as Apple. This is the strength of a Clefable lead. We did hard damage on here, got the Sing off. Now you're forced to try to sleep it with your Lapras. That's your best option here, because you're too bulky to answer anything one-on-one. And now we're applying Pair to Lapras. This is a huge starting advantage for Banana. And I do think this would have been avoided if we had done something different on turn 1. I don't think Earthquake earned us much of anything. You could, if you're going to do this anyway, you could probably argue to just boom straight up. But let's see. So Lapras is going to get the Sing off on Clefable, but through Para, it's going to take a couple tries. So the Clefable is finally down with most of the Golem gone, Hypno basically dead, and Lapras paired in at 42, which is in King range. So tough positioning. MrBanana is going to fish more. I don't know if we need to go for, burn a sleep turn as Clefable here, because I think rest here is just very telegraphed. You kind of need to get your Lapras back in the game. But we aren't going to see that. We're going to have the Lapras come in now, but I think we've kind of punished this a lot harder. I think that rest was so telegraphed we could have, hard brought Kangaskhan, and now we have insane pressure going on at Apple's team. We don't see that, though, and the Thunderbolt to pressure the Lapras is now going to get read by the Electabuzz. So I think we had an astronomical lead on Banana's side, and we kind of threw it. We didn't cash in like we should have, because there's really no risk to punishing that turn with a Kangaskhan. I really think that was the play all day. We are going to come in and punish the Electabuzz with a Dodrio, and we're going to punish the Dragonite switch-in predicted on Dragonite with the Lapras. Now this is good. Slam is a good mid-ground, and Electabuzz is going to come in on the Teeple once again. I have a feeling. Yeah, okay, so here's the prediction part. Because Dead Tree has been revealed, so the Electabuzz could try to body slam the Doug. So we're going to try to punish that with just a free Blizzard or Slam. In this case, we are going to be rewarded for it, even though it was Thunderbolt. You're still a high enough damage that's kind of fine anyway, so staying in his Lapras is a good play here that got rewarded. So our advantage continues to grow from Banana's side. I would be very shocked if we're able to come back in this game, because all we really have left, realistically, is a Golem to eat some Hyper Beams and a Dragon and Kangaskhan. So Kangaskhan is really going to have to do some crazy work in this game to come back. Now, Dragonite coming in does intrigue me on what the rest of the team is going to look like, and might end up falling to a Kangaskhan that gets a little lucky, because I believe this is Blizzard range now. So the switch here is a little interesting. Like, yes, you're trying to force a para, but this very much was going to happen. So I don't think that is your best play. I guess depending on what the rest of the team is. Gonna go to Lapras now to eat the Blizzard. Makes sense. Trade with D-Bolts also makes sense. And we get the pair. Yeah, so even though we did let the Lapras wake up, we are going to end up being fine. We're going to kill it anyway. Still a very advantageous space for Banana. Go ahead and sack the Clefable. I mean, that makes sense. You're probably more likely to get use out of this than that. But burning the extra turn was, or spending this extra turn was greedy. I think you can probably capitalize on the switch in because now Golem can substitute here, which he's going to do. I'm seeing a lot of situations where Banana is getting into an advantageous state and just not capitalizing on further advantage. So we're giving Apple opportunities to win with a Kangaskhan sweep. Yeah, and see that, there's an issue. That's right. Now we're just down a whole Pokemon for the 30% Golem because we didn't read the pretty obvious explosion. I think you probably could have sacked the Lapras here. Dugtrio was way more likely to be useful, especially with Dragonite in the picture. And we're going to get a critical hit. Banana is starting to really throw away this lead hard. I think we could have closed this out. Now Hypno is going to be in Kangaskhan range. Dragonite is in Blizzard range. What's the last, I wonder? I'm going to go ahead and sack the Hypno there, because Dragonite might be useful versus last. Kangaskhan's going to come in. You don't have anything really to switch in here. What is the last? We don't have a good answer to Kangaskhan last. So Dragonite's going to eat the Blizzard. Does survive. Okay. Does survive. And it goes for damage. I think you, depending on what last is, you might have had to go for Para. What is Banana's last? Ooh, it's Electabuzz. This might get dicey for Banana. It is going to kill, but Dragonite, it does have a pretty decent matchup. We might be able to win. 71 is kind of scary for Dragonite, though. Slam's going to get off, not going to Para. And it's going to crit. Was that Electabuzz in Hyper Beam range? I wonder. Let's see. Oh, I have that flipped. 55 to 65. Okay, so not in there, but if that Body Slam crit or even Para, that could have easily swung the other way. Like, Banana had such an insane advantage in the beginning of the game, and kudos to Apple. He played that very well to bring that back after Clefable. He played that very, very well. But that did not have to get as close as it got. I was very scared for Banana there. But he is able to close it out with the Electabuzz. So we're going to see Banana up 2-1. He needs one more game to win the set. Gonna go for the Dragonite lead again, which I do respect. It did get caught with Nidoking earlier, not expecting him to go Nidoking again. That was very good, solid matchups, and I think Dodrio is a good matchup for a good matchup into Dodrio. Lapras is gonna come in, probably predicting a Blizzard, or just in general, it's a pretty safe switch in overall. Nice play on Banana's part. Hypno is gonna come in to punish the Lapras switch in. This is a big part of the tier right now. We have unanswered sleeps coming through. The Hypnosis is going to miss, and we're going to get some damage on the Hypno, but the Hypnosis does land. Better that it's the Dragonite, though, than your Lapras or Hypno. We're going to stay in, predicting that T-Wave turn, fishing for a Wake-Up. Get a Wake-Up, still paired, but now we can get some more damage on the board. There is chance that Sleep is going to have to land on something else later, though, since we're not using Dragon as the Sleep Sack. Very ballsy stay in, but it's definitely going to pay off here, especially with that blizzardness. So we just full sent it and got rewarded hard for it. And now Hypno is our answer to Dragonite here. Ooh, Dragonite's going to do some big damage to the team. It basically by itself just took out Lapras and Hypno. Early start. Scouting for the counter once again. Gets a crit. I'm sorry. Yeah. Kangaskhan Mirror, we're going to see how that goes. And Apple does win the Mirror. So now, but Mr. Banana's down the Lapras, basically down the Hypno, and down the Kangaskhan. We have a Dodrio, but we have a full health Lapras, full health Hypno. So this is definitely in Apple's favor. That Dragonite did a lot of work for the start of this game. We are going to fish for the crit here. And it does read the fact that Apple's going to sing the switch in. So that is pretty significant damage on the Lapras here. Raichu's going to come in to punish the stay-in, which he does get. Dodrio's going to come in, but we're going to read it with the Surf. I think that was a great play from Apple. Definitely very, very easy play to make, but definitely gets the reward. That could have easily been a dead Dodrio with that crit. Raichu's crit rate is nothing to joke about. And you do kind of want to switch out here because Dodrio's EQ does not guarantee kill. So, and Apple's already ahead, so you can easily just click Surf again. So we're going to go and sack the 2% Hypno here. Now, what is the last that can punish this? Alright, it is Dodrio anyways. I'm not sure why we went to Hypno or what we were punishing. I think Raichu stay-in was very reasonable. But we're going to sack the 2% Hypno, and Dodrio dies. Mr. Banana's going to forfeit. So Apple is back in the game after that strong start to game 4. So now we're down to the wire, 2-2. Let's see what the lead matchup is. Apple's going to bring Dodrio, and Miss Banana has a Gyarados. So this is a matchup that Gyarados wants to see. It just has a good 1v1 with Blizzard and everything, Tease and Bulk. We are going to see Apple go in for a trade here. Both of them crit, but this is more advantageous for Apple for sure. Miss Banana is going to bring in Haunter to eat the Hyper Beam. Sorry, I'm tired. To eat the Hyper Beam. Apple is going to sack Persian to sleep. I do kind of wonder about just sending in a Drill Peck here, because if you crit Drill Peck versus the Haunter, it's just a dead Haunter. And I think even worst case scenario, you're at half, and I think Persian later can get some T-Bolts off at 50%. It's very reasonable to break through Haunter. So I don't know if you necessarily need to sack your Persian here. But we've clearly determined that Dodrio is more valuable. Mr. Banana is going to take advantage of this, though, and is going to just apply some damage to Persian. Persian can't really threaten at this high of a percent, because he wants to get sleep on something more valuable. So we're going to see Hypno come in here. So I presume we're trying to bait a Hypnosis and go back to Persian, which is what happens, and it would have worked, but the Hypnosis misses, which is very unfortunate for Apple. Yeah, we're going to see Banana get more damage on the Persian. Ooh, very impactful full para there and paralysis coming from the Persian T-Bolt. So now Miss Banana is probably just going to attack into the Persian here, and Hypno is going to come in to be able to outspeed and Psychic it. There is a chance that he could read that and hit a Boom. It's not going to happen though. He is going to just go in with a T-Bolt. We're going to see Gyarados come in here on the Psychic, which makes sense. We do tank that and can apply further pressure. And we get a crit Hyper Beam on the incoming King. So very high value Gyarados lead to start. Lapras going to come in to answer the Dodrio. We aren't going to stay in with the Dodrio this time. We're going to sack the Lapras to sleep. Dodrio does look in a very good position to sweep with this lineup, so I think that makes a lot of sense. Now that we've sacked the Lapras sleep, we're going to have Hypno come in to answer the Lapras. T-Bolt Parrot is very fortunate for Apple, though. This could have been a very scary situation, I think, if the Hypno did come here unanswered. Can now chip the Hypno down further. But the Parrot is going to be very nice here, bringing Kangaskhan to punish it. Get a full Parrot, too. We're going to have Lapras eat the Hyper Beam here, bringing Dojo. So nice little pivot. Eat the Hyper Beam with the Slip Lapras is already kind of dead meat. Now Dojo can come and get an unanswered Body Slam. The Body Slam is not going to KO, though. I actually kind of presume that did. So in that case, kind of a 50-50 whether you Slam or H-Beam, and could have answered it with something. Are going to go Slam, is going to eat a Blizzard. Overall fine, though, we do live. Lapras is going to come in. It's tough to stay in versus those Lapras, so I imagine we're going to go back to Hypno if I had to guess. Sorry, Haunter. Oh, shit. I'm skipping ahead and missing shit. So we do try to Slam for damage into the Lapras. And do eat a T-Bolt and die. So it makes me wonder what the last is. We clearly have another sweeper plan in mind. And we do have a Victory Bell, which is interesting matchup here. Having a Victory Bell into Haunter is very unfortunate to load. The Haunter is very chipped, so this Razor Leaf is not unnotable damage, and the Hypnosis is going to miss. And going to full para. So that could have been very strong for Banana to have this Pokemon down and all these outsped. So depending on what the last is, this could be very important, because this is the difference between getting swept and not so, depending on what the last is. Gonna try to get some damage onto this Victory Bell, or at least para, set up for whatever this final sweep is going to be. Get some damage on. What is Mr. Banana's last? This is really going to determine the entire set here. Hypno's going to come in and Seismic Toss. 59% is still a pretty decent percent for Hypno to be at. It's really hard for anything to really KO Hypno at this percent. Yeah, we're trying to fish for some damage here. Does not get the Wake Up, though. And if whatever this last is can't answer this, Hypno will get para damage off, and Persian and Dodrio will likely seal it. Some things that could probably win the endgame here for Mr. Banana is an Articuno, Moltres, things of that nature. It's going to be a Dugtrio. Now, this is very scary for Banana, because Hypno still has decent bulk, so this Dugtrio is going to have to break through all of these things. And while it does outspeed Persian and Lapras, I don't know if it kills Lapras at 26. We'll go ahead and check just to see. Yeah, it's a roll to KO Lapras at this percent. Does outspeed Persian. Definitely does not KO Hypno here, guaranteed. And has to get through Dodrio. Rock Slide does not KO unless crit. So Dodrio can sweep this, but is not guaranteed. We're going to go for Sand Attack. We're trying to avoid getting damage on the Dugtrio. We're fishing, yeah, because if we can get... If we got that sub up as Mr. Banana, then that could have been huge for the sweep. That might have just secured it right there. But it didn't go through. So now he has to rely on the RNG gods here. Persian's going to die. Dodrio comes in. Is the Rock Slide going to crit? It's not going to crit. That's it for the set. That was a very close set. Mr. Banana really almost had that one, but Dodrio was not able to get the RNG at the end. And Apple is going to close out. That was a great set to watch. I think my overall thoughts are there was one game where I think Lapras would have been very beneficial. Overall, I think Apple played very solid. Mr. Banana had made some very good plays too. I think we just could have pushed our advantage a bit better in certain places. But that is going to be all for the video. I believe the next one I want to cover is the Shellnut FC set that's going to be happening tonight. So I will record a reaction to it after the fact, and I will see y'all in that one.